my name's Dave, and in this video we're going to talk about enums, right? Enums. Enum is a special value type, in C# that lets you specify a group of named numeric constants. So I have this form, right? It's called enum. I just call mine enums. You can name yours whatever you like, and please follow along. Once again, strongly recommend it. So I have a form. I have one button, one label, just as before, and so the toolbox here, and look for a button. Left click, drag onto the form. Same thing with the label. Left click, drag, or you can double click. Either way. So I have one button, one label. And in the properties, I haven't changed anything in the properties. I just kept the default. You can change the names and then the text displayed here if you like, and play around with these properties. Actually, I recommend that you do that. Play around with properties as much as you like. The more you play around with the properties, the more you get familiar with them, the more comfortable you're going to be with them. So feel free to play around with the properties for these things. But I'm going to focus on enums right now, not properties. So I have one button, one label, and I already have this file open. This is my code behind. I could press F7 or right-click View Code, either way. But I already have this file open, so I'm just going to click on this tab. This is my code behind, right? This is my GUI, graphical user interface, in the document window. And this is my code behind. So let's look at the code behind. And as a way to get started, I want to talk about constants. A constant is very much like a variable in the sense, as far as that analogy of the box goes, like a box in the computer's memory. Same. The difference is that a constant can never be changed. Variables vary, or may vary. Most of the times, a lot of times they do, or they could vary. Whereas a constant does not vary. It's still a box, still the same. Everything you learn about a variable still applies, except that the value cannot change. The value cannot be changed, right? And in C#, C# gives you this keyword, const, short for constant. And this is a way to guarantee that this, basically variable, this box really, or this constant, never changes, right? Never, and you can still call it a variable. It's basically what it is, but it's a constant. So more specifically, it's a constant because the value, we know the value is never going to change. And this example is pi, right? We know pi is 3.14, whatever. There's some more, digits there, but whatever it is. So pi is never going to change, right? So if you're writing a program that needs to find the circumference of something or whatever, then we know 3.14. That's going to remain constant, right? That's always going to be 3.14. 10,000 years from now, when people will try to find their circumference of something, they're going to use the same number. It's going to be the same, right? So it's never going to change. But it's definitely not going to change without during the lifetime of the program. So if something's not going to change, if you need a variable or box, and you know for a fact that throughout the life of the program, that value, whatever value is in that box, is never going to change, then you have a constant. And you can use this keyword. You don't necessarily have to use this keyword. It's a good idea. And actually, some languages like Python, for example, doesn't have any keyword like this. You just declare the variable as normal, as usual, and you just have to take care to not change that value, not accidentally change the value. So if you the benefit of using this keyword is if you accidentally try to, or someone else may be using your code, your classes, and they may accidentally change the value of that variable. Here, C# won't allow it, right? We're getting the red squiggly, right? So let's hover over that red squiggly. the left-hand side of an assignment must be a variable property or index. It must be a variable. So basically, it's a constant. It's a constant, not a variable, in that it's not going to change, right? It still is. You can still think of it as a variable as far as the box goes. You think of it as a box, basically. That's what it is. It's a box. But there's an added declaration on the box that says this value, whatever you put in this box, you can't change it, right? You cannot change it. So if we look back at the hamburger in the food only box, you'd only put food in the box, right? No dirty socks, nothing else. If you put a hamburger in that box, then if it's a constant, then there's always going to be a hamburger in that box, right? So here this is a constant. This is always going to be 3.14. You can't change it. Here I'm trying to change the value, and it's bucking on that. You cannot change it because it's a constant. Now if we remove that keyword, now it's just a regular variable. Now we can change that value if we wanted to. But with that keyword const, it makes it a constant, which means it's not going to change, at least throughout the life of the program, right? And let's go just one more example. And let's see, my name. And my name is not going to change anytime soon. So we could actually have a string here, wrong type, wrong data type. So I have a string Dave, and actually one convention that some people use is uppercase, and uppercase all letters with a constant. That is one convention that's used. You could use that if you like. You don't use constants a whole lot, but when you do, if you see that if the name of the box, the name of the constant, if you see all capital letters, all uppercase, then you know that is a constant. So that's one convention that a lot of developers use. If it's a constant, not a variable, but a constant, meaning the value is never going to change throughout the life of the program, and you're using this keyword, then you can use uppercase for your name, for your constant name, right? And that's just a convention. It's not something you have to do, but it's just something to just want to point that out. It's probably a good idea to stick with conventions, right? Somebody else reads your code and they see all caps, all uppercase. Hey, that's a constant, right? So okay, so I want to point that out. A constant is like a variable. It's a box, but it's a value that's never going to change, right? So okay, so that brings us back to enums. Enum is a special value type that lets you specify a group of constants. A group of constants. So let's look at one that's in the .NET. There's a bunch of them in the .NET. We're not going to cover. We're only going to talk about this one, right? There's a whole bunch of them. But once you know how to use one, then they're all pretty much the same, right? And we'll see a lot more enums as we go along. But I want to talk about this one's day of week. Day of week. And this is built in. It's in the system namespace, right? System namespace. So it's built in. It's in the .NET class library. And it is a type, by the way. It's a data type. It's a special data type. It's a data type. So this is one way you could create data types. The most common way is with class. We'll talk about that later on. But this is an enum. It is a type of data. It's a data type. And what it does is gives you a group of constants. It gives you a group of constants. Here we just need one, right? We just need one constant, and you do it this way. But if you need a group of constants, you can use an enum, and this is one that's built into the .NET class library. And here in day of week, that gives us an enum of the days of the week, right? And we know this is never going to change, right? Not anytime soon here, anyway, and certainly not within the lifetime of the program. These are constants. These are days of the week. They're constants. Not going to change. We're not going to swap Monday with Friday or change the names anytime soon. This is going to remain the same throughout the lifetime of the program. So these are constants. These are constants. This is not going to change. These are not going to change, right? So this is a group. It's a group of constants. It's a group of constants. So so here, of course, we have all the days of the week, and so enum. This is the data. It's a enum. That's a type of data. It is enum, right? It's an enum, and it's a group of constants. A group of constants. And note the little icon there. We've seen the icon for properties and methods. This is the icon for an enum. Icon for an enum. So take a good look at that. And anytime you see this, you're working with an enum. You're working with an enum. And there's a lot of enums in C#, and especially more so in WPF apps. You'll see more enums than in form apps. I've seen more with WPF apps than form apps, but you'll see them a lot. You'll use them a lot. So basically, it's just a group. You see this little icon, that's an enum, right? That's an enum, and it's just a group of constants. Just a group of constants, right? So that's pretty much all it is, and it's kind of a nifty way to have a group of constants. So let's look at this code. All right. So also date time. Date time has this. So look for date time and now, which gives the date time now, right? And the now is a date time. All right. Let's look for is a date time instance. Instance of date time. That makes no sense. Just keep rolling. It's too much to get into there, so just keep on rolling. And we'll talk about all that when we get to object-oriented programming. So what I'm looking for is the day of week. Day of week. And here we go. Okay, sorry, confused myself for a second there. Okay, day of week. Day of week holds, let's look at the type here. It holds a day of week type, right? Hover over day of week. So we got datetime.now.day of week. And look at the type. The data type of day of week is day of week. That's the enum. That is the enum, right? That's the enum day of week. So it can only hold a day of week, and this we couldn't assign anything to this, and this is to explain some of this we'd have to get into object-oriented programming. So if it doesn't make perfect sense, just keep rolling. But this holds an enum a day of week enum. This is the enum, right? So this holds one of these, right? This holds one. It's a property, like a variable, sort of, not really, but sort of, and you can think of it that way. So this holds one of these, right? So like today is Monday, so this actually holds this. All right, this is the same as this, right? In this case, if it's Tuesday, you get where I'm going. This is Wednesday, Thursday. So this is an enum with the day of the week, right? It's the day of the week enum, right? All right, so datetime.now.day of week, if that equals to this day of week .monday, then we know it's Monday. Today is Monday, right? If the day of week equal to this, right, .Tuesday, then we know it's Tuesday, etc. So this property holds one of these, basically. It holds one of these, right? So we're checking to see if this is equal to what it's equal to, right? So let's go ahead and run, and then we're doing the message.show. Today is Monday. This will throw up the dialog box. So let's go ahead and I'm going to click the button and execute this code. And today is Monday. Today is indeed Monday, right? Okay, so I recommend maybe pausing and typing this in and just getting familiar with enums and how to use them. So I'm going to go ahead and comment that out for now. And we go down. Okay, so I want to go ahead and create an enum. Let's go ahead and create an enum. And what I want to do is get outside of the class code block. I want to get outside. This is the closing curly bracket for the class, right? Closing curly bracket for the class. This is the opening. So basically, we want to be outside of this code block. This is the code block for that class. If you have no idea what a class is, don't worry about it. We'll come back to it. But we want to be out. We don't want to create the enum inside this class. We want to create it outside of the class. And actually, we could create the enum in a totally separate file. We'll do that on down the road. For now, we'll just do it down here. We want to make sure you're outside of this class code block. So here's the opening curly bracket for the class. It's the opening curly bracket, and we want to and this is the closing curly bracket. So we want to be outside of it. We want to be right here. We do want to be inside the namespace code block. This is the opening curly bracket for the namespace. It's a closing curly bracket for the namespace. We do want to be in the namespace code block. We want to be outside of the class. So we're going to be right in here, right? So right in here. Okay, so the way we create an enum is we use the keyword enum, right? And then we give it a name. Then we just give it a name. And I'm going to name this suit. Okay, just going to name it suit, and just hit enter and open and close curly bracket, and then I use my left arrow to go in between the curly brackets and then hit enter a couple times. It's actually easier in 2015. It'll do some of that for you. But with 2010, this is Visual Studio 2010. Just open and close curly bracket and then use the arrow to go in there. I should do that one more time. So open and close curly bracket, left arrow, right? Left arrow to go in between the curly brackets, and hit enter a couple times, and then use my up arrow, and then I'll tab over. So again, they put in a feature in the later versions to kind of automate some of that, but this is 2010, so yeah, you got to do what you got to do. So okay, so I have the code block for this enum that I call suit. Note the teal color here. The teal color. What's up with the teal color? Normally when we name something, it's just black. Variable, whatever, or method. But here we have the teal color, which indicates a type in the .NET framework. And we are indeed creating a type. We are creating a type of data. It's not the most common way. The most common way to create a type of data or data type is with a class. And we'll do a lot of working with classes when we get to object-oriented, OOP, object-oriented programming. But this is one way to create a data type. And this is a data type. It is indeed a data type. It's a special data type, as I said. It's a special data type that holds a group of constants, right? So if you want one constant, you use that constant keyword, as we've done before. But if you want a group of constants, you can use an enum. So let's use enum and see hearts. We're going to use these are card suits, right? Diamonds. Hearts, spades, diamonds, clubs, right? Hearts, spades, diamonds, clubs. All right, so these are all constants. They're constants, right? They're basically boxes. They're name constants, and each one of them has a value. They have an integer. By default, it's entered. You can actually change that. You can use other number types. But by default, they all have an integer value, and the default is it starts at 0. So this is really, let's do this explicitly. It does this implicitly. Let's do it explicitly so you can see what's going on, what it's doing. Okay, so this is what happens implicitly. It's by default, right? This is the default. These are the default values. Hearts, this constant, gets assigned this integer 0. Spades gets assigned this integer 1. Diamonds gets assigned this integer 2, etc. Right? And this is the default. So we don't have to type this in. It's not necessary that if you just want to use the default, then it's not necessary to type that in. That's what it's going to do by default. By default. But let's say we don't want to start at 0. Let's say we want to start at 10. We could do that. And then what happens is this gets assigned. It just increments, right? So now this becomes 11. This becomes 12, 13, 14, 15, or whatever. So that's, it just increments by 1, right? And saying if you don't want that behavior, let's say you want this one to have 20, this one 30, then you have to explicitly put that in, right? And also if we don't put anything here, then this one's going to be 31, right? It's just going to increment. So this would be 10, 20, 30. This is going to be 31 because by default it just increments by 1, right? Okay, so that's probably not something you use anytime soon, but so a lot of times you just go with the default values, right? So this is assigned the integer 0, 1, 2, 3, right? And that comes in handy because we can cast, we'll see that in a minute, we can actually cast these to an integer or to the enum type, right? So once we have our enum created, and we want it make sure it's outside of the class, right? Once we have this enum created, now let's go inside this method, and let's type in the name of the enum, and note the little icon here. This is the Enum Icon, right? Enum Icon. The icon we saw before was for the individual constants, right? This is for the type, I guess, the enum type. So this little icon indicates it's an enum. Dot, and now you see this is the enum that I just created. These icons represent the individual constants, right? So now we can use these, right? And note this is the same one that I just created, right? To prove it to you, I'll put my name in there, right? And just click on this little thing here, rename, and see how that got renamed. So it's the same, right? Same. So let's change this back to suit and click on rename. Okay, so we could use this in the same way that we used the day of week enum, right? We could even create a variable. We'll just call that suit, and you see suit popped up. I typed in equal space, and suit was already selected, right? So just hit enter, and now dot, and we'll go with diamonds, right? Okay, so now if tab suit is equal to, and suit's already selected, dot diamonds, and we'll throw up actually we'll use that text, that label, right? And we'll just assign that a string. Diamonds, right? So let's go ahead and run this. So diamonds, so that got it assigned. So right, this is true. This did indeed equal to that. So this line executed. Let's watch this in the debugger. All right, so we're assigning this variable, and that's the old value. All right, so now it just got assigned. This line just executed, so it assigned this enum, the constant, basically this diamonds, to this variable, which only holds that enum, right? Only holds that enum type. Yeah, these are the different constants in the enum. So this variable only holds that type. We assign diamonds. We assign the constant diamonds to this variable, right? And now we're checking to see if this variable, which now holds the diamonds, we're seeing if that's equal to this, right? Which is diamonds. So indeed it is equal to that, right? So the condition is true, right? So since it's true, it's going to execute that code block, right? Okay, so one of the things that we can do with enums is we can cast, let's just go ahead and comment that out too. We can cast these two integers, or these initially, these by default have or assign integer value. You could use other number types, but we're just using, and most times you use integers, the most common. And that's by default, right? If we wanted to use another number type, we could type that in here. And actually, I don't think I've ever done it, so I'm not certain of the syntax. Maybe we have to do it here. And that's it. We need the semicolon. Not the semicolon, but the colon. You just put the colon there, right? Put the colon and put the other type there. So I've never done that. So all right, it's yard call. Okay, so we'll try to wrap this up so you can go in the yard. Okay, so enum, so you could use other number types, but default is integer, and most of the time that's what you want. Anyway, so each one of these are assigned an integer. By default, it starts at 0. If you don't want it to start at 0, then you can explicitly give it something, assign it another number. And by default, the next value just increments the number, right? Alright, so this has the value, this constant has a value, an integer of 0, and this has integer 1, 2, 3, etc. And this is the default. If we wanted other numbers, then we would have to explicitly put that in there like this, or just an assignment operation, right? But we're just going to go with the default. So this is going to be 0, 1, 2, 3. These are the integer values that it has, and we can cast enum, and what is enum int, right? I'll just name it that. Good enough. And we use casting. Remember the casting? If you don't know what casting is, review the video on converting and casting. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's type in the enum suit dot, and let's go with hearts this time, right? And we'll just assign this to text property enum int. It's our variable. Convert it to a string, right? We got to convert it to a string, and we'll assign it to that text property. So we're going to cast this enum, right? This constant to an int, and we're going to get its int, and it should be 0, right? Because it starts at 0. And these aren't like index numbers. Don't think of this as index numbers. These are not index numbers. These are integer values that are assigned to these constants. They're integer values that are assigned to these constants. And see, we got 0 here. Let's put in another value for hearts. Let's assign it to some arbitrary number here, 4, 2, 3, whatever that is. And now let's see what happens now. We're converting the hearts to the integer with the same number, right? So it gets that same, right? So that same number. So it just by default it assigns it 0. So that's why we got the 0 before, and that's just the default, right? So we just go with the default. And what if this was clubs? Yeah, this has the value 0. By default, it just increments 1, 2, 3. So this should have the integer value of 3, right? And 3, right? So the clubs has the 3. And we could also assign this to a variable. Let's do that. Suit selected. So let's go with spades this time. So let's take this variable, Control C, copy, Control V, paste, and I'm going to take this variable and do basically the same thing. This time we're doing spades, and we know spades has that default of 1, right? 0, 1. So let's take a look at this, see what integer we get, and there we go, we got 1. So we're taking the enum value, the enum constant, and casting it to the ints, whatever int value it was assigned in here. By default it starts at 0 and then increments 1, 2, 3. If you don't want that behavior, you just explicitly assign it, right? Assign it an integer value. So we can also do the opposite, right? So let's do that now. So let's just comment this out. Let's comment that out. Okay, so let's do 3. So we got to use the right syntax. We need the parentheses, right? This is syntax for casting. It's the syntax for casting. So let's go ahead and actually I'm tripping right now. Let's try this again. Okay, let's try that. Okay, we need to cast it to. All right, now there we go. Now we take we put this in parentheses with the type we want to cast to, right? Maybe I think I need to review my own videos. Okay, so we need to put the whatever value, whatever type we want to cast to. That's what goes in the parentheses, right? So we want to cast it to a suit type. So we put suit in here, right? Okay, so I've got suit in here. This is I'm casting, right? I'm casting this integer. I'm casting this integer, which is 3. I'm casting it to a suit. So whatever type you want to cast to, that's what goes in the parentheses. I want to cast this, whatever this is, I want to cast it to a suit. Suit data type, and it is a data type. It's enum data type, right? And this is the most common way that we create data types. The most common way is with a class, but it is one way, and it is a type. It is a data type. It's like string, integer, like in the same sense that those are data types. This is a data type. It's an enum data type, right? Again, the most common way is to use classes, but this is a data type. It's a special data type that holds a group of constants, right? So we want to take this int, which is 3, and cast it to a suit enum and drop it in this box, this variable, right? So 3 should give us clubs, right? This has the integer 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's take this Control C and Control V. I'm just double clicking on that. Control V. So now we're going to take this, what's in that variable, and convert that to a string and assign it to the text property on that label. So let's look at that. Okay, and it is indeed clubs. Just stop it there. And just to kind of bring that home, I'm going to put in the integer value 5,000 there. So I just assign 5,000 here. And now I'm going to cast that 5,000 to a suit and see what happens. And it should still be clubs, right? So there you go. So let's go back and sort of have the default, right? Okay, so again, these by default, this first constant is assigned value 0, just like that. It just does this implicitly, right? It does this automatically. So you don't have to type this in. The only time you would have to type in or assign a value to these constants is if you want something different than the default. The default is to start at 0 and then 1, 2, 3, etc. It increments by 1. That's the default. So if you want something beside the default, then you would assign values. Otherwise, you don't need to assign anything here. By the way, you could also put these on one line if you wanted to. You could have all these on one line, tighten up the code a little bit. That works too. That's fine. Okay, so we've seen that enum is a special type, and it's a group of constants. So if we only want one constant, we might do it like this, right? Use that constant keyword, and you could stick with this convention of all uppercase for constant names if you want. That's just a convention. But you would use this constant keyword, and that ensures that this value can never change. You can never change that value throughout the rest of the program. It's never going to change. It's going to remain constant, right? That's what a constant is. It's like a variable, but it doesn't vary, right? It's like a variable in the sense that it's a box, but you can't put anything else in the box, right? You can't take that value out of the box and put something else in there like you can with a variable. You put the value in the box, and that's the value it's going to be. That's the value that box is going to have throughout the life of the program. It's never going to change, right? That's what it means. That's what the constant means. And this keyword is just a way to ensure that, just to guarantee that, right? So you don't, mess up and accidentally assign another value to it, right? So that's what a constant is. Enum is a group of constants. A group of constants, like hearts, spades, diamonds, club is a group of constants, right? These values are not going to change. These values are not going to change, right? The suits for a deck of cards is going to remain the same, right? And the same is true for maybe directions, north, south, east, and west, or there are a lot of different uses, a lot of different scenarios where you would need a group of constants. So anytime you need a group of constants, think enum. Enum is perfect for a group of constants. Also, we saw that by default, the first constant is assigned an integer value of 0. You could use other number types, as we saw using the colon, which I just learned that myself actually, but I've never done that. I always just use the int, which is most of the time that's what you want. So by default it's an int type, so we're assigning the int 0 to this constant, and then the rest of them just get incremented by 1 by default. So if you want something other than the default, then you have to explicitly assign it whatever it is, right? But default starts at 0, then 1, 2, 3. Also note, I want to point this out, that they're not index numbers. This is when I say this is assigned 0. This is not an index number. This isn't a collection like a list or an array. It's not the same thing. In this case, this is an integer value that's assigned to this constant. It can be any integer value, right? Assigned to this constant, right? So these are values assigned to the constants. So they're not index numbers, and this isn't a collection, right? This is not a collection. Enum is a group of constants. There's a difference, right? There's a difference. So an enum is a group of constants. It is a type. It is a data type. It's an enum data type. We saw that we can convert or cast the integers that are assigned to these. We can cast them to the constants, and we can cast the constants to the integer values. So we can cast either way, and I wouldn't worry too much about the implementation. In the next video we will see one implementation of that, but if it's not clear how you can use that and why it's needed, then that's okay. Don't sweat that. And a lot of times there's going to be times where you don't need to do that. You just need a group of constants, right? Several times I just needed a group of constants. I didn't need to cast them one way or the other. I just needed a group of constants. So it may or may not be something you would use anyway, but it is a tool at your disposal. So think of these things as it's another tool in your toolbox, right? We're just adding tools to your toolbox. There's another tool in your toolbox. So these are enums, and we also saw here we can take this. We can assign enum to a variable. Right here we're casting the integer. We can also just type in suit dot. You'd have to spell it right. Do a suit and is whatever, and assign that to a variable as long as the variable is declared as that type, right? And we can take that and convert it to a string, and this will give us clubs, whatever. So we can cast two integers, the integers that are assigned to these constants. We can cast the the constants to the integers to the constants, right? Either way. And we can assign these to variables, boxes that hold this type, right? We can convert this to a string, and that's pretty much it for enums. So there's more you could say about enums, but we're going to stop there. That's good enough. That's a good introduction to enums. You will use enums a lot, especially in WPF. I've seen it a lot more in WPF apps than with form apps. But you will see enums a lot. They come in handy. I've used them quite a few times in my own programs. So it's another tool in your toolbox. It's a very handy, nifty tool. It's called Enum. And so that's it for enums. I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for hanging